for you. So today, as I mentioned, we're going to be talking about having your brain hijacked. And I would very much like to share with you guys what that means, what that looks like, and what you can do about it, which I think is so much more important than any of the rest of it. So I see that Amber is here. At least it looks like you said hello. And if so, I will try to invite the rest of you guys. Anyway, I know, Sarah, you're trying to get here. Hopefully you can get here as well. And you can say hello when you do, if you'll just like send me a thumbs up and let me know you're here. Okay, so I want to tell you a story. I have a lot of clients. I see several clients, maybe 12 different clients a week, sometimes 16 or 17 clients a week. And all of my clients are really highly successful people. And I've had, and a lot of them are CEOs of their own business, or otherwise they're in some high level corporate position. So some of them are entrepreneurs. I've got some of my clients are entrepreneurs like Rocket Science, who actually is has her own business. I've got lawyers that have her own, a lawyer client who has her own business, runs her own law firm, and just a whole number of different clients and executives even at Facebook and so forth. So really big companies. And what I've noticed is, and especially for the women, but this is true for men, and I've had some pretty successful male clients as well that similar, you know, like they will express some of the same things. There are times in which they find themselves so frustrated, annoyed, or stressed for whatever reason, and they aren't getting the best out of their workers. Now, it could be that they're chastising their employees. It could be that they're ignoring some of the things that the employers are doing that don't work. I mean, there's all different kinds of behaviors that they can be doing, but they're all telling me, I know how to be a better leader, but what is happening is I'm showing up not the way I want to show up. I'm showing up in a way that's not effective. And sometimes they don't know, like, what could I do that's going to be effective here? Like, these people are fighting with one another, and I don't know how to help them get along and get to work. And so a lot of the coaching I do is helping them be able to see how they can be the best leader they want to be. And what I've noticed, and this is so true for me too, I mean, I fall into the same stuff, honestly, is that when, and this is just a human condition, so I'll share it with you. When we're stressed, we automatically fall back into old patterns. Our minds are hijacked by our reptilian brains. Yeah, like no kidding. And that means that you just don't have as much ability to make good, conscious, educated choices when you're stressed. And what will happen for all of us is that when we're stressed, we fall back into old patterns that we've learned and that move us into whatever direction that pattern was from. So how does that even happen? Well, the way that happens is that we all have had experiences in our childhood, and those childhood experiences of adversity in particular, they get stored in our bodies, in our nervous system, and they get stored in our reptilian brain, and they get stored as a whole pattern of physiological and behavioral and thoughts, the whole pattern of reaction. It includes all of that. It includes your thoughts, your emotions, your physiology, how your body is. It even includes things like postures and behaviors often as well. And they're just, and to make it simple, it's the fight or flight response. And the fight or flight response is fight, flight, Freeze and fawning are four of the main primary fight or flight reactions that we can have. And so when we have adverse experiences as children, they don't have to be big major traumas. They just have to feel threatening to the child, either to the child's physical being or even to the child's ego that they've been building. Because our ego is just a construct. It doesn't have to be threatening more than a perception of threat. So it could be bullying on a physical level, it could be emotional bullying, it could be just being criticized, even if it's not intended to be bullying. As long as the child perceives it as a threat, the body will perceive it as a threat. The body perceives it as a threat, a whole reaction pattern gets created. And that involves emotions, that involves physiology, and that involves thoughts. And it often involves also a new perception that the child creates about the world. And that gets stored as a belief. Then later, if anything similar happens, that same pattern gets triggered again, and it reinforces all of that, the emotions, the behavior, the thoughts, the belief, the physiology, all of that gets reinforced, and then it becomes stronger. And it builds on that neuronal network that's stored in that reptilian brain. And then when we become adults, sometimes something will be happening in the environment, like our coworkers will be fighting with one another. Or somebody will come late with a project or with something that's just really not acceptable for the level of the employee, what the employee is. And then that stress response gets triggered. And that stress pattern from the childhood starts to run. And the reptilian mind steals your brain and goes with it. So I just have to share my screen so you guys get to see what I'm talking about here. And what I would love is if we can get some comments, and I'm so slow on actually being able to see even what that looks like, but if we can get you guys to comment, then you can share with me what might be going on in your own life where you actually may have your brain hijacked by your reptilian brain stealing the rest of your brain, right? Like it happens. So I'm going to look and see if I can find you on Facebook. I have like no idea how I'm going to manage this technology. As far as I can tell, nobody's here yet. And even though I know that some of you guys are supposed to be here, and you said you were going to be here, and you were saying, how do I get on? Even texting me at the beginning. I'm still not seeing you show up here, and I don't know how to find you. I wish I did, because I would really love to be able to have this be a conversation. Have this be a conversation, and so that we can talk about like what it is that happens for you. And I will just tell you that for me, like, and I feel like right now at this time, when we're like dealing with all of the stuff going on for, the pandemic and sheltering in place, there's so much more stress around us. People are stressed, and with pretty good reason. I mean, COVID-19 is a pretty serious disease that none of us really want to get, right? And so there's a lot of good reasons for us to be stressed. Maybe we're sheltering in place. That means we don't get to be with the people that really help stabilize us and feel and are supportive and fill us up. Or maybe it means we have to be with people so much of the time that our introverted selves can't take the immense closeness and intimacy that we have with everybody. It's going to be individual for you. I know that. I mean, for me, I definitely went through a period of grief at the beginning about missing so many of the live events and having to pivot. And I'm going to be teaching what was going to be a 3-day retreat is now turned into a 2-day virtual workshop, a virtual retreat, and creating those kinds of pivots. They're stressful. And as I, had to go through this whole process, and, one of the things that happens is our emotions start to come up, right? When we get triggered into stress, we feel emotions. Your emotions, though, are not bad. They're actually really useful because they do tell you that something's up. It's sort of like a signal that says, whoa, wait a minute, this isn't going the way that we expected or the way that we want. And it's useful to have that happen, for that to show up, right? It's useful to for you to wake up and go, wait a minute, I need to adjust something here. I need to adapt. I need to do something. And so emotions are your kind of alarm signal in a way, but they aren't quite that simple. They may give you more nuanced information, which is really great. But sometimes the information that they're giving you is just information from the past, something that was similar that happened when you were 2 years old. And it's useful to sort through all that and not be reacting from the past, because that reaction from the past is your reptilian brain hijacking your conscious adult mind. And it's very difficult to be creative and to really do an effective pivot from that place. And so one of the things that I have found that works the most effectively and most efficiently is the technique that I developed called rest. And I developed it from a bunch of other things, like really looking at how do we access that reptilian mind and train it so it doesn't keep hijacking the conscious mind. It doesn't take over the self. How do we do that? Because I've had too many times in my life where something important is happening and I want to be fully my best self and not be taken out by my child self or my reptilian brain. So I've really researched what are the most effective techniques that do that. And I put together a number of techniques and developed a technique called REST, or Rapid Reprogramming of Emotional Stress Technique. And what that does is it accesses those early events, the very first time in which you learn the pattern, and helps your nervous system, your reptilian brain, reprocess that so that your reptilian brain, instead of coming in and stealing your conscious mind and running the show and creating havoc and creating chaos, instead gets tamed, and you can actually use it to do tricks instead of taking over the show. In other words, you can train your reptilian mind with the rest technique. And in training your reptilian mind, it really can allow you to access so much more creativity and so much more capacity and all of your adult learning, and not be, tipping you out into your childhood stress patterns that are not effective right now. So your emotions tell you something's up, but you want to be asking yourself a bunch of questions about them. The first one actually is, I think, super important right now. Is this emotion even mine? Almost all of my clients are very sensitive people, and so am I. And highly sensitive individuals often have a very high level of empathy, meaning that they are sensitive to other people's feelings and emotions. And sometimes we feel other people's feelings and emotions, and we do that sometimes a little bit subconsciously. And if we don't stop and ask ourselves, is this emotion mine? We might think it's ours when in fact it is somebody else's. And so, if someone around you is super stressed because they have a loved one they're concerned about, or because of some of the economic crisis that's happening, it doesn't matter. If there's someone around you that is stressed right now, that stress is contagious. The emotions they're experiencing are contagious. And you want to just check in. If you're feeling stressed, if you're feeling emotional, ask yourself, is this even mine? Is there something really happening right now that is an actual threat that I need to be responding to? And if you're sitting in your living room as you're watching this, or you're sitting someplace in your home as you're watching this, probably there is no actual threat. Even if you're nervous, your heart is pounding, right? So you want to just ask yourself, is there a threat? And if there's not a threat right now, then it's very possible that emotion is somebody else's. It's also possible that that emotion is being triggered from the past, because, so the first question is this mine? The second question is it relevant to this time right now? Or could it be a past emotion? And sometimes if these feelings are very familiar, like I've felt this before, that usually means you've been triggered into some past emotion. If, on the other hand, this is like a completely new situation and there is an immediate concern of danger, then the stress response is there, and the emotions are there to just let you, give you a heads up. There's something that needs to be adjusted. Now, sometimes that adjustment just needs to be a new way of thinking about the current situation. So, you know, in this case right now, like, people are needing different things right now than they may have needed like 3 months ago. They have different concerns now than they may have had 3 months ago. And so that's one of the reasons why, you know, like some of the stuff is still the same, right? And some of it's different. So how do I, so for me, I like really want to be supporting my clients and what they need. So I have to ask myself, how do I do that given that now I'm sheltering in place? And how do I do that now that they're sheltering in place? And how have their needs changed? What are their needs now as opposed to what were their needs then? Like, and so some of my like, oh my God, like what's happening in my world was me really needing to say, let's stop, let's see what's actually going on. Let's get present to the moment. And to do that, I actually did have to do several sessions on myself or with my colleagues to clear out some old clutter using rest, because there was some old stuff coming up, stuff that I hadn't seen before. And it came up and I recognized, wait a minute, this is an overreaction to what's happening. Let's get rid of that so that I can be back in creativity. Doing that allowed me to rest into the moment of being able to say, okay, how do I now adapt to this new situation? What can I become aware of that will allow me to continue to support my clients, to continue to get, one of the things I realize is that the stuff I've been offering, which is basically holistic mental wellness, is even more important now. And partly because some of the stuff I suggest for holistic mental wellness, like taking care of your physical body so that your brain, which is a physical organ in your body, is able to deliver its very best so that it's in optimal health. Well, that is the foundation of that is eating good, healthy food, fruits, vegetables, berries, like good nutrition is so important to that, and not putting in toxins in your body. Well, guess what? That same stuff that keeps your physical brain healthy is exactly the same thing that keeps your immune system in its top form. Well, what do we need right now? We need our immune system in its top form, right? So not just our brains, but also our immune system, like our whole bodies need to be as healthy as possible for us to be strong and resilient in the face of the pandemic, just in case we get exposed. So much of what I've been teaching And what I've been offering is even more available, is more important now, and can be made available and is even more available, which is really great. But people have different needs now. And so it needs to, and so what I'm noticing is just, I need to be presenting it in a way that people can see it for what their current needs are. So for example, stress right now is at an all-time high. I know that it's just, there's too many things out there in the external environment that are causing us as a whole world stress, right? The threat of the infection, of the illness, the threat of death, the threat of losing our loved ones, economic disaster really that's happening. Like, yeah, who wouldn't be a little bit stressed about that? There's a lot of uncertainty. We don't know when this is going to be over. We don't know when this is going away. So all of that, sure, there's a lot of reasons to be stressed. And even with all those reasons to be stressed, if we can keep our stress physiology down at a minimum and allow ourselves still to relax and go into a healing physiological response of relaxation instead of a physiological response of stress, that's really important, because when we're in a physiological stress response, especially when it's all the time, it means our immune systems are depleted. So while that is all going on around there, if we're doing what our part, washing our hands, sheltering in place, we can relax and let our immune systems be in top form. But if you're getting triggered, not just by the external stuff, but also by the past stuff and also by other people's stuff, and that stress response keeps rolling and rolling and rolling, it will eventually start to deplete your immune system and make it a lot more difficult for you to be resilient and be able to thrive during this time. And thriving is possible. And I would say to you, important. And those of us that are able to survive and thrive are going to be there in support of other people who might be struggling. And I think that's also important. And I just know from a lot of my friends and colleagues and some of my clients as well are in the wellness and medical fields. And some of them are on the front line of dealing with this pandemic. And what I know from them is that they take their own health very, very seriously, because they know that if they get sick, then they can't do their job. And if they can't do their job's not going to get done, because a lot of these people have very specialized jobs and there just aren't enough people to do them. And so they realize how important they are, which means they realize how important their physical health is. So I just want to give you some of the secrets. They're doing the same kind of stuff we're all told to do. Wash your hands, you know, try to stay 6 feet apart, the social distancing, wear the masks. They're doing all that stuff. But they're also doing stuff that you're not hearing in the news a lot. And I think this is important for you guys to know. They're eating lots and lots of fruits and vegetables, making sure they get plenty of rest and getting exercise so that they're really taking care of their physical body. And they're also meditating to keep their stress responses down. And my clients are doing a lot of rest, and that means rapid reprogramming emotional stress technique in addition to resting. And they're also taking Juice Plus so that they get concentrated fruits and vegetables. And because it's difficult for them at this busy time to make sure that they have it all prepared, but they're preparing the best they can with fresh fruits and vegetables and berries and good plant-based food in order to eat their meals. But they're also adding concentrated fruits and vegetables in the form of to supplement that. And that is so important. And we know that Juice Plus can support the immune system because of the research. So all of this stuff is research based, and now is the time to apply that knowledge into action. So whatever's going on with you, I just want to support you in considering that you can take positive action right now to support your physiological health, your mental health, reducing your stress response, keeping your body healthy, including your immune system and your brain, by just taking the knowledge that you have and putting it into action. And that might mean taking a step back, spending some time meditating, letting your mind clear so that you get the inspiration of the things that are simple and easy and relevant and feel good. Because the most effective things you can do right now are the things that feel good long-term in your body, that are the healthy things. And I don't mean chocolate or alcohol. Yeah, that might feel good for 10 minutes, but that's not what I'm talking about, or maybe half an hour, if it's the alcohol or whatever. But that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is happiness, not just a short-term experience of pleasure. I'm talking about building resilience that feels good so that your comfort zone is expanded and you can dance on the edge of your comfort zone. Like dancing on the edge of your comfort zone is fun when you can trust you're not going to fall over the edge and you can pivot with grace. You can do that when you're relaxed and having fun dancing there. That feels good. So I just want that for you guys to be able to dance on the edge of your comfort zone, have fun, enjoy all of the learning and all of the extraordinary stuff that you're creating from this as you expand your comfort zone and thrive and not just survive it. Anyway, don't get hijacked by your reptilian mind. If you are, come see me.